Thanks so much for being with us on the Texas Wealth Report. I'm Brad Johansson with Summer Roberts of Impact Partners Financial. Always so great to be with you.
It's so good to see you.
We're going to talk about something today that affects so many of the people out there, especially in the Texas area who have dealt with pensions, people that you've got coming into your office with pensions. And there's a lot of questions about where we are with pensions. Am I safe? Do I need to be doing something? Let's kind of cover that today, because I think there's a lot of people out there with a bunch of questions. I was put in this, I've always been in this, and now people are telling me I should be worried about this. Where do we start with pensions? If we're going to do foundation of pension work, let's begin from the beginning. You start us out with that.
Yeah, so I always tell people the best thing about a pension is the mere fact that you have one. If you have one, congratulations. You're already steps above a lot of people. So they were wonderful things, but the problem, we've seen several companies over the years declare bankruptcy and various situations happen. So unfortunately, that tends to put their pension plan at risk. So people ask all the time, is it okay? Should I be thinking about this? And the number one thing I tell people is don't fall in love with your company. Don't fall in love with your company.
And people's eyes get wide. What does that mean?
Well, that means that let's just call it the HR department or whoever administers this plan, right?
Okay.
Their job is not necessarily always to give you sound financial advice catered and tailored toward you.
They're
right?
working for the company.
Correct. They work for the company. So, it's very beneficial for people to go get some outside advice, work with a fiduciary or someone of that nature who can give them advice that works in their best interest. But, with pensions, it's a beast. And with it comes a lot of pros and a lot of cons.
Explain the beast. When people say, "Well, why do you say I have a beast? My company put me in this pension. I'm dealing with it." What's the beast aspect of it?
So the beast aspect of it, in my opinion, is that you only have one decision, right? You cannot take back your decision. So whatever decision, whatever choice you make on how you take your pension, a lot of people don't realize that there is a lump sum option for their pension.
Okay.
If you're married, you can potentially take less to cover your spouse, and there are a plethora of options. But the hardest part of it is that there are so many options. What is it that I do? Which one is best for me? Which one's best for me and my family? And unfortunately, there's just not a whole lot of advice out there, especially from the companies.
Are we getting into a situation with a lot of people in many of these companies now who are saying, you got to do this now, go to HR, fill this out, check this box, be done with it, we'd like that back today kind of thing. Is there a timing factor on this when you say that there are so many decisions? Are they allowed time in making some of these decisions?
Well, most companies have, a lot of companies we work with in the Houston area and all across Texas will give you some sort of calculator online where you can go in and run different scenarios. So anytime we're planning prior, which I always recommend, the sooner the better.
Yeah.
The earlier we can plan, the better off you'll be. So we can go online. We can go on to you should have a portal. Now, not all companies offer that, but a lot of them do. We can run different scenarios and see what the different options are. But a lot of times you can't request your pension paperwork until you've officially given your retirement notice. And then you get the paperwork in. I always tell my clients, bring it into our office where we're going to sit down and do it with you. Because it's usually a really thick packet.
It's a beast. That's part of the beast.
It is. And so that way, but if we've planned ahead of time, we already know what decisions are going to be made there. Now, not all pensions have a lot of options. Some of them are just, okay, here's your pension, take it, that's it. You know, and I like to say some of the best things about a pension is A, the fact that you have one, right? B, it is lifetime income, right? So my dad used to tell me people like the check in the mailbox summer.
It's mailbox money.
Yeah, I told him he's starting to show his age. But so people are getting that check month after month after month, and they like the certainty of that. And I can completely understand that. So that's a definite pro to a pension. You know what you're going to get. Some of the downsides are most pensions, not all, most pensions don't ever increase. So if you're getting $3,000 a month, that's $3,000 a month for the rest of your life, and it's never going to increase. So as we all know, inflation is very real, and it's not going anywhere anytime soon.
And
it will always be there.
It's not figured into your $3,000 a month,
Right.
or whatever that may be.
Right. And plus we have to think about taxes, because your pension is going to be more than likely taxable income.
I've heard people complain a lot. Man, my grandfather's retirement was so good. Because everybody during that generation had a pension. The companies were in that before the rules changed. And you got your cake, you got your party, you got a gold watch, and you got your mailbox money. And the mailbox money took you through. There was no work to be done. There were no questions to be answered. This is all changed. And as you said, many of these companies' pension plans are very different than anything that we've seen before. Why is that? Is it more to benefit the company and to save the company more money?
Well, think about this from any type of business owner, right? If you have a pension plan, you have to have money there to keep it afloat, right? You have to have reserves. You have to have pension reserves available. So that puts a lot of pressure on the company. So if they did away with their pension plan and they just introduced a new 401k plan, right, which as a matter of fact, Boeing did years ago. That was a big thing in my area in Houston. But they froze their pension plan and just added a new 401k plan. So now here's the thing. The responsibility is not on the company anymore. The responsibility is on you, the individual. Now, you put into your 401k, you're responsible for it. You're responsible for the investments. Whatever happens is your responsibility. So the companies, yeah, they're protecting themselves by taking the responsibility off of them and putting it on the employee.
So if the company is protecting itself, how about you protect yourself? Maybe there are a lot of questions that haven't even been brought up, questions that you need to ask that need to be answered with a plan. Because the company's planning for themselves. They're not necessarily planning for you. So if you have some questions that need to be answered, call now, 866-254-8026, and get a Texas Wealth Report that includes this. But not only that, it allows you a chance to come in for an appointment. Maybe there's some more questions within this. Retire with Impact. A copy of this book by Summer is free with your appointment. And maybe you get a little peace of mind that goes along with answering those questions with the plan. Call now. Don't waste any more time. Let's tackle the beast. 866-254-8026.
You've probably heard the term Roth conversions. What are they? How can they benefit you? Well, remember playing kick the can as a kid? You may still be playing if you have money in tax-deferred accounts like 401ks, 403bs that you and your family have just been kicking down the road for years saying, this can wait. Well, is kicking the can still in your best interest? Do you realize you have a partner in those accounts, and the government is not a generous partner? With the highest national debt we have ever seen, taxes aren't likely to decrease, and you've been putting legislative risk against your retirement goals with a giant tax bullseye on your back. Roth conversions are simply moving your money out of those tax-deferred accounts, paying on them during the third lowest tax bracket in history, which only lasts till the end of 2025. That conversion allows your hard-earned money to grow tax-free for the rest of your life. Kick the can just isn't nearly as fun when the government plays with you. Let's take the bullseye off your back. Call now.
So glad you're with us on the Texas Wealth Report with Summer Roberts. I'm Brad Johansson. As we deal with the topic of pensions, I kind of want to ease into spousal income continuation planning, because your money gets adjusted now as you get out into retirement, the pensions move. Talk to me a little bit about spousal income continuation planning and where we start from there.
So one of the most important things to realize with spousal income continuation, basically meaning when one spouse dies, what happens to the other, right? I met with this guy, Tom, years ago, and we talked about a lot of things, but toward the end of the meeting, I was trying to gather a little bit more information about what was really important to him in retirement. And eventually he came out and he said, look, Summer, I've worked hard for nearly 40 years. I'm retiring next year. I've sacrificed a lot in my life. There were kids' t-ball games and dance recitals when they were little that I missed because I was working. He said, and also my wife sacrificed a lot because she had to be there. She had to be the one making up for me not being there. And he said, so look, at the end of the day, the thing that's the most important to me is that if I predecease her, I have to know that she's going to be okay.
Yeah.
And that was the most important thing to him. And I see that a lot because, yes, that makes him a good husband, but more importantly, because anywhere from 30 to 40% of income is lost when one spouse dies before the other.
Why?
It doesn't matter who.
Why?
There's a few reasons. Number one, we were just talking about pensions.
Yeah.
So if you didn't make the right decision on your pension,
Check the wrong box.
Yeah, your spouse could be losing income. And look, let me just give you a heads up, men out there. If you think that you can choose the choice where your wife gets 50% of the income when you pass, I don't know any woman in America that could live off of 50% less income. So please don't make that mistake. So yeah, if you didn't make the right choice with your pension, you could be losing money there. Also, one of the Social Securities gets lost, right? The smaller of the two, but if one spouse dies, the other's not going to continue to get both Social Securities, right?
Which many don't know.
Yeah, yes. So one Social Security completely goes away. Your pension could be affected by what decision you made. And then the biggest one that I think is, and I actually, it's part of my book in here. I have a chart in here talking about it. But the biggest red flag is, now how do you file your taxes now that your spouse is gone? You filed married, filing jointly for as long as you've been married. And now all of a sudden you are dumped into this filing single tax bracket. It's huge. It's dramatic. It's a big jump that people don't often think about. So one of the things that we are really adamant about at Impact Partners is anytime we do any sort of plan, if you're married, we do a spousal continuation plan. Because It may not be like Tom. It may not be the most important thing, but we have to make sure that no matter what, it doesn't really matter who predeceases whom. We want to make sure that that income flow is steadily coming in, and we've got to plan on the tax hike when one of you passes as well.
How often do you see that, because we kind of harp on planning quite a bit, and I just kind of talked about kick the can. Kicking the can is kind of a standard for us a lot of because we're dealing with things that aren't necessarily pleasant things to talk about. Taxes, income, what's going to be our mailbox money, when do we take our Social Security, if one of us dies. Can we talk about that later? That's kind of the standard that we do, which is usually, in what you're finding with people coming into your office, what causes the biggest problems is, can we just wait to talk about that later? Because when you do, that's usually what costs you the most money, correct?
Yes. I mean, I had a friend, I flew into town to Atlanta for a financial conference I was attending. And a friend of mine, who's been a friend for many, many years, picked me up from the airport to take me to my hotel. And I get in his car, and on the floorboard is this big, thick book. And it's called The Art of Procrastination. And I said, have you read that yet? He said, no, I'm going to get to it. It just really summarizes. I cannot tell you, Brad, how many people, when they come in, they're like, my goodness, I wish I would have met you sooner. Like, this is incredible. Now, it's never too late. But the sooner you get ahead of this, the more proactive you are. It's not fun things to talk about. It never is. It never will be. But if you have a plan in place, then it helps in the long run. It helps you ease into your retirement. I call that, you get to slide right into retirement with your ducks in a row. You feel very confident. You have a peace of mind. And then, God forbid, something should happen to one of you. Hey, guess what? We got a plan for this. It's going to be okay.
So obviously, what we're talking about, Summer said it, in Retire with Impact, there are charts within here that you've been wanting to know the answers to some of the questions. They're all inside the book. And the book is free if you actually come in for an appointment. But you say, you know what, let me wait. It's time to stop procrastinating about the things that are going to be the most important to you in the next phase of life for you. Don't you want your retirement to last 10, 20, 30 years? Like the amount of time that you've accumulated all of this so that you can live out the life that you want to live. It's all here, but it takes some planning. Don't procrastinate anymore. If you've been wanting to call, if you've been wanting to come in, I'm talking to you. Now is your time. 866-254-8026. Get a copy of the book. Get a complimentary Texas Wealth Report. And get peace of mind. Call now.
Good morning, Ben.
Good morning, Ben. Hey, birthday party for Carol and 5. Happy birthday to you.
Good morning, Ben. Happy Monday.
Daryl's birthday, be there or be square. Happy birthday to you.
As you can see from our quarterly report on slide number 62, we're trending in the right direction. All signs point to a very positive outlook for the next several years. If you peel back the onion
anything to add?
The work never seems to end until the day it finally does. Call today to get your free written financial plan so you may live every day to the fullest and enjoy the retirement of your dreams.
So glad you're with us on the Texas Wealth Report. I'm Brad Johansson with Summer Roberts of Impact Partners Financial. We've been talking about pensions, which affect so many of you out there, and we've also talked about the spousal income continuation. What figures into that, unfortunately, is always taxes, and something that we constantly want to avoid. Why does it then become much more important now? And I don't know whether we can harp on it enough that we're in, nobody likes dealing with taxes, but we're in a great situation right now. As far as the government's concerned, we're in the third lowest tax bracket in history, which makes optimizing some of our strategies a little bit more important right now. Yes?
Absolutely. I think, don't quote me on this, but I think it was Ed Slott who said taxes are on sale right now. They very much are. I mean, of course, none of us feel that way. We don't think that we paid too little in taxes. We don't want to write an extra check and send it off to Uncle Sam. We all still complain about it. We all still think that we pay too much. But as you mentioned, we are at extraordinarily low tax brackets, historically so.
For a year and a half?
Correct. We've got a little bit more time, right? So we've got this year and next year.
And then we don't know what happens.
We have no idea. I mean, all we can do is plan for the tax code to sunset, which means it automatically goes back to what it was previously.
Which is higher.
Which for majority of Americans, the majority of Texans, that means an increase in taxes. So
you talk about a Section 7702 strategy. Enlighten us, Summer.
Oh, it's a strategy, gosh, that's been used for many, 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 many years. There's I guess, kind of a loophole in the tax code, Section 7702 of the tax code, whereas we can utilize various insurance type products or accounts to basically, I call it a Roth on steroids, right?
Okay.
Because the benefit of a Roth is you pay your tax now while taxes are low. And we don't have to worry about taxes as your money has grown in the future because that money therefore grows tax-free. So the benefit of utilizing this part of the tax code is we can achieve the same thing, but it's utilizing insurance type products. So the benefit, there's quite a lot of benefits to that. One downside of the Roth is there's a few different 5-year holds, right? You can't touch certain monies during a 5-year time period. Well, by utilizing this alternate strategy, that's not the case. We don't have a 5-year hold. Now, we want to let the money grow and do its thing and grow that tax-free money. So we do want to put off touching it as long as possible, but it's a really brilliant way to cover a lot of ground because if you pass, you leave tax-free money to your family. If you live, we can utilize it as tax-free income in retirement, which is very, very powerful. And some accounts, we can kind of wrap in some type of long-term care or chronic illness into there to where you basically, it's there if you want it, you pay for it if you use it, and if you never use it, you don't have to worry about it. So
this kind of leads us into, I guess, something that you're touching on to the point of incorporating all of this with pensions and with survivor and with the tax situation that we probably don't pay enough attention to becomes legacy planning. If you want it to go somewhere else, have you told people about it? Have you put together a plan for it? Do you have an estate plan? It's something you do all the time.
Yeah, we won't do a plan without covering that aspect. But you know, it's funny because I would say the majority of my clients and people I meet with say, I want to spend every last time.
Sure. It's my money.
I know.
I like to just be done with it at zero.
And I say, hey, you're right. It is your money, and absolutely, let's try to do that. But who you don't want as one of your beneficiaries is Uncle Sam, right? You don't want Uncle Sam. Whatever there is left at the end of the life, right? We want it to be passed as efficiently and effectively as possible to whomever you want. And I'm pretty sure Uncle Sam is not on that list.
Yeah.
So with a proper plan, with everything set up properly, we can set up different strategies. We can use Section 7702. We can use Roths. There's a few different other strategies we can utilize to get Uncle Sam out of there. He's still going to be in there, but let's get him out as much as we can, ultimately.
So when you put together a plan for those who have a pension, it includes that. It includes the spousal situation. It includes the taxes. It includes a legacy plan. And you may have many people right now going, my guy never talked to me about any of this stuff. Do you hear that a bunch?
Absolutely. Most financial professionals don't, because they are solely focused on the investment portion, which is critically important to any retirement plan, but it's one piece of the puzzle. We have to take everything into consideration. Investments is one piece of the pie, and that's where most financial professionals focus, whereas our firm focuses on a holistic view.
Yeah.
We've got to take all of that into consideration.
Because you've been into accumulation phase for a long time. Now it's time for distribution. And that's different. And if nobody's talked to you about that, then you don't have a plan. So come in for a copy of the book. It answers so many of the questions. But wouldn't you rather talk to somebody that you trust? Somebody that believes in your plan, that puts together a plan that's just for you? It's all in the Texas Wealth Report. Don't wait any longer. The time is now 866-254-8026. We're so glad you joined us. Thanks for being with us. We'll look forward to seeing you in the office, and we'll see you next time.